Hi guys, it's me again with my horrible Russian accent, but don't you worry because I put all the instructions in writing in study guide, so you will not miss anything if you even won't watch this video. But let's start. Most botanists believe that modern land plants are the ancestors of primitive green algae that lived along the edges of lakes or oceans. Gradually, about 450 million years ago, the land plants emerged completely from the water and spread across the continents. As they evolved, they became more and more different from their primitive algae ancestors. Technically speaking, a plant is a multicellular organism that carries out photosynthesis, contains chlorophyll, and develops from an embryo. An embryo is literally a swelter. In general, then, an embryo represents the early stages of development of any organism. A plant embryo is a partial, undeveloped plant contained within a seed that eventually swells into a full plant. There are more than 300,000 different species of plants in the world, and the vast majority are land plants rather than algae. A few land-based species have apparently returned to the aquatic environment, including the slender seagrasses. But let's get back to the point. So there are two major groups of land plants. What's the difference? If they contain vessels or not. Great majority of species make up the vascular plants, while relatively few species comprise the non-vascular plants. Vascular literally pertains to little vessels. The vascular plants are also called tracheophytes. Containing rough arteries or windpipes, which is called trachea in Latin. The vascular plants or tracheophytes are the plants whose bodies contain many small hollow tubes that resemble blood vessels or windpipes. The hollow tubes create a vascular tissue which runs up and down throughout the plant. The vascular tissue also branches outward to create dense pattern of leaf veins along the sides of the plant. In direct contrast to the vascular plants or tracheophytes are the non-vascular plants. Their alternate name is the bryophytes or tree moss. The non-vascular plants, bryophytes, have no internal vessels or leaf veins. They also lack true leaves, stems, or roots. This non-vascular type is called bryophytes. It's from Latin because the mosses and other moss-like plants are the main examples. Okay, a quick overview of the bryophytes or non-vascular plants. The two most familiar types of bryophytes are the mosses and the liveworts. The word moss descends from the Old English for bog. We have Orana bog, right? Where you can go and see a lot of nice plants and moss. So a bog is marsh or swamp consisting of soft, wet, spongy ground. A moss is a very small, soft brown or greenish plant that grows closely together with others of its kind, forming a living carpet on rocks, trees, or ground. Mosses have short stems and many slender leaves. Decaying sphagnum, recognize it in my pronunciation. Sphagnum moss, it's also called peat moss, is especially common in bogs. Peat is a heavy turf made of tightly packed mounds of partially rotted sphagnum, peat moss, and various other plants. Peat is used as a fertilizer and is commonly burned as fuel in Scotland, Ireland, and England, where there are many peat-containing bogs. Liverworts are given two alternate names, liverleaf and hepatica. So, hepatica. You can hear it several times in plant names. In humans and animals, the shorter word, hepatic, literally pertains to the liver, or hepat. Obviously, the words liverwort and liverleaf actually contains a smaller word liver, while hepatica contains the Latin word for liver. The liverwort, liverleaf, hepatica, is a low-lying plant with brownish-green, three-lobed leaves that resemble the human liver, which also has a number of lobes. The resemblance of hepatica plant leaves to the liver, and it created the ancient belief that eating this plant cures jaundice and a number of other liver diseases. So, living habits and reproduction of the bryophytes. Because both mosses and liverworts are bryophytes or non-vascular plants, they can live only in freestanding pools of water. Having no vascular system or roots to transport fluid, nutrients, and waste products, they must grow upon pools of water, however tiny and shallow, but they have to. Such a tiny pool might even occur in a shadowy cleft of the sun-baked face of a desert rock. A pool even this small may be just enough to allow the bryophyte plant to absorb water and nutrients into its non-vascular tissues and survive. A water pool is also needed as a fluid medium so that sperm cells that plants obviously have, so that sperm cells can travel from male bryophyte plants and fertilize the female bryophyte plants. Now let's move to tracheophytes, or vascular plants. So in addition to their inner system of hollow passageways for transporting waste and nutrients, this group of plants has true stems and roots. The two types of vascular tissue within tracheophytes are xylem, and phloem. Xylem comes from the Greek word for wood because it often contains woody fibers that form the harder part of a plant vessel system. Xylem is still stiff enough to provide support for vessel walls, and it also carries water and dissolved minerals upward into the plant after they have been absorbed by the roots. Phloem derives from the Greek word for bark. By the way, that's how you remember what phloem carries and what xylem carries. Phloem, can you feel the sound phloem? Food. So remember that it carries food for the plant, which is sugars, amino acids, And xylem, it carries just water. Just you have food for phloem and water for xylem to eat and drink. Okay. While the outer bark of most vascular plants is tough and dead, the phloem, food, carries food. The phloem forms a softer inner bark composed of living tissue. The phloem, living inner bark, contains vessels which carry sugars and proteins synthesized in the leaves down towards stem and roots. Xylem, water up. Phloem, food down. Although all tracheophytes are vascular plants, some species produce seeds while the simpler types lack seeds. So, the next division, seeds or no seeds? So the first division, vascular or non-vascular. Then you take vascular plants and look, seeds or no seeds. Okay, let's go to the vascular plants without seeds. And those are ferns. Ferns are the main group of seedless vascular plants. A fern is a slender plant with feathery fronds. That stands for leaves now. So, fronds are split leaves that grow out along either side of a central stem. Ferns reproduce by means of spores. The spores grow in small brownish clusters on the back of the feathery frond leaflets. The great majority of vascular plants, other than ferns and their fern-like relatives, reproduce by means of seeds. One important group are the gymnosperms, or vascular plants with naked seeds, or sperm, because seed is sperm in Latin, and naked is gymno. Maybe like gym, I don't really know. By naked, it is meant that the seeds of the gymnosperms are exposed and not enclosed within fruits. So, you won't get to eat a lot of a fruit. It's just naked seed. You can just eat the seed itself. So, as the ancient world climate became cooler and drier, many of the vast fern swamps of the Carboniferous period died and dried out. Arising in their place was the conifers. Conifers, or cone bearers. The conifers, as their name suggests, produce cones that hold their naked seeds. Most of the conifers are evergreen trees or shrubs that bear cones. These conifers are truly evergreen because they keep the green needle-like leaves all year. The thin leaves are an adaptation to cold, dry conditions in that the needle shape gives them a small surface area exposed to the air, thus reducing evaporation or drying of the conifer plant. The conifers include pine trees, fir trees, spruce, larch, hemlock, and yew bushes. Today, much of the still natural land of the northern hemisphere is covered by beautiful conifers, by beautiful coniferous forests graced with tall spruce, fir, and pine trees, and cedar. I think of Siberia when I think of conifers. What do you think about? Main? Okay. The gymnosperms, as we have seen, are vascular plants that reproduce by means of spores and seeds. The seeds are naked and they are usually attached along the exposed edges of female cones. So now we will examine the angiosperms. These are the second major group of vascular plants, and they are named after an important part of their anatomy. These plants have seed or sperm, angiosperms, remember? Vessels or holders, which stands for angiosperms. Angio, vessels, sperms, seeds. So it means that the seeds are not naked any longer. Rather, the seeds are enclosed within fruits. The angiosperms are also the true flowering plants because their immature seeds are fertilized through a particular part of the flowers. The angiosperms probably first appeared on Earth during the Mesozoic era along with the gymnosperms, dinosaurs, and small mammals. Anatomically speaking, a flower is a specialized body of the modified leaves located at the end of the pedicel, or a little foot-like stalk. Look at the picture and find the pedicel right down below. The surface of this pedicel, like the rest of the plant stem, leaves, and young roots, is covered by an epidermis. Epidermis. The word epidermis exactly translates to mean something present upon the skin. Arranged around the bottom of the flower are two or more sepals. These are green leaf-shaped outer coverings which often make a tight calyx or flower cap surrounding the closed flower but before it opens. Just above the calyx cup and its sepals are the petals, the thin colored plate-like portions of the flower that are spread open. Petals. All of these petals together create a corolla. The corolla is literally the colored crown or a little wreath. Corolla, which is called coral, making a ring around the ovary. The petals often make a bright, colorful corolla that helps attract insects and hummingbirds to pollinate the plant. Going inward, the next set of flower parts are the stamens. The stamens are a group of thin vertical thread-like filaments, forming a tight inner ring that rises above the ovary. At the tips of the upright filaments sit the anthers. The anthers are swollen, double-walled sacs that produce the male spores and pollen. The stamen then consists of slender filaments topped by anthers and is the male reproductive organ of the flower. So stamen equals filaments plus anthers. and is a male reproductive organ of the flower. Finally, situated in the very center of the flower is the carpel. The word carpel comes from ancient Latin and means little fruit. In botany, a fruit is the female part of the plant which contains the seeds. The carpel, little fruit, consists of three parts: the stigma, style, and ovary. So, carpel equals stigma plus style plus ovary, and it's a female reproductive organ of the flower. So it's gonna be a little fruit containing seeds. The stigma and style form a sticky green bulb that leads down into the ovary like a hollow pipe. The very center of reproduction, the ovule, is situated within the ovary. And these processes produce seeds containing embryos that are surrounded by fruit tissue. By the way, the grain, oat grain, is a fruit. Remember that. Cotyledons, which literally means small cups or hollows. A corn seed, kernel of corn, for example, has only one cotyledon, appear as a small cup or hollow within it. A corn plant, therefore, is classified as a monocot, which stands for monocotyledon. Corn plants, grasses, lilies, palm trees, and irises are all examples of monocots or monocotyledons, because they each have only one or single or monocotyledon appearing as an embryo within their seeds. Such monocot embryos usually grow into mature plants having leaves with parallel running veins and flowers with 3 parts or multiples of 3. The other group of angiosperm embryo types are the dicots or dicotyledons. This group of plants contains 2, like D, di stands for 2, small cup-shaped embryos within its seeds. The great majority of living plants are dicotyledons. These include peas and most other cultivated plants, as well as many types of trees. Dicots mature into plants bearing leaves with network of veins and flowers that split into 4 or 5 parts or multiples of 4, 5 parts. And the other differences, I want you to look at the other differences between dicots and monocots in the videos down below in study guide. They come with pictures and hopefully they help remember you it much better. So this is our first week stuff that you got to learn a little bit of vocabulary and basic divisions of plants. Good luck.